So now that I have the windshield in, I've been driving the car around a little bit, and I've been having problems with failures of my radiator cap. This is like the third one I've gone through, and there was a good 300 miles where I didn't have any issues at all. And then all of a sudden out of nowhere, I started having issues. So I got rid of the cap, got a new cap. That solved that. Great. So when I did that super brutal cold drive without a windshield, at a stoplight, I was getting up to about 203 on the temperature of the car. And then while I was driving, I dropped down to like 190 or 193 or something like that. It's a good 10-degree differential. And I was like, that's still pretty hot. Now, I know LS engines can run like 220, 230 if you want. Sometimes it's just that way. And I know I have a specialized radiator, and I know it's a smaller car, and there's not as much venting, and I have a sealed front end, like, it's that engine is enclosed. But the other day I was driving, and even though I got the new cap and everything was running fine, I'm still getting like little spitting out of radiator fluid. And I can smell it while I'm driving, which is scary and annoying. So what I decided I'm going to try is I'm going to bail on the normal 50/50, and I'm going to switch over to they got water wetter, and they got the royal purple ice, and I was kind of looking at the two, and I'm decided I'm going to go with royal purple ice, and I'm going to try it and see if I could just keep this car under 200, I think it will just not leak as much. It won't have any issues. I'll feel safer about it. I am in Arizona, and it's wintertime, and I'm having these issues literally 10 minutes after I drive away from the house. And so that's not cool. And so whatever I could do to like eliminate stuff. Now you could run this stuff just with water and the stuff, and which is how race cars would be and anything like that. They don't use glycol at all. Now the only thing they talk about is, glycol's in there so it doesn't freeze. Now there's no reason I'd be driving this car in freezing conditions or leaving it outside overnight to where it would freeze and crack my block or something like that. However, as a street car, I kind of feel like maybe it's smart to keep, 20% or 10% or something glycol in there, just so there's something in there. So we're going to drain the whole car, and then I'm going to reevaluate kind of as we go. Pop in, I'm going to use distilled water, and I'm going to use this royal purple ice, and I brought 2 bottles in case I want to, depending on how much I need. I want to say this car only takes about 2 gallons, and so we'll see how much I need, but it's kind of what we're going to do today and see what happens. Why am I losing everything? All right, I filled up 1 gallon. As you could hear, we're filling up the next. It's a slow process, but we'll see. I have a feeling the way the car's positioned, I could be wrong because that's the lowest point, but there might be residue that stays in the engine, so I might factor that into how much coolant I actually leave in the car when I go to put the ice in there. So this is the product I'm talking about. And so what these products actually do is they get rid of, I guess it's maybe like an anti-foaming agent. So it gets rid of any kind of bubbling that's going on. And so if there's any bubbling in the engine and it gets rid of that, then you have full contact of coolant in the engine instead of some air bubbles in there or foam or whatever you want to call it. That would cause more heat to build up because there's not coolant touching it, cooling it down. And so I think that's the idea between how these things actually work. And of course it says, up to 25 degrees cooler. If I got 15 degrees, I'd be jumping up and down because I'd feel great about it. So we'll see. You could run this at different levels of how much you want mixed in. And of course I'm going full bore, so we'll see how that goes. But I got all my distilled water bottles there ready to go. And so the honest truth is my brain has already moved on from this car to my van and dealing with, because I was like, oh, I'm just going to hire the guy and do the windshield. Great. And I'm just going to get my, my side panels in because I still need my side panels upholstered. And I've been spending literally like 8 weeks trying to get a hold of my upholstery guy because he already finished this, so I need him to finish that. And I can't get a hold of the guy. And when I do, he never commits. And so, and now I got the side window things I got to deal with. And so it's like the project that just won't end, even though I've mentally moved on. Not to say I have enjoyed this car yet, because I haven't, because I didn't have a windshield. But now that I have a windshield, it's like I want to go out drive it, and then I have this issue. And then I want to take it down to the upholstery guy and drop it off, and it's a good half an hour, 40 minutes away, and I don't feel confident when my car's overheating to go do that. So it's like there's all these little things where I've already moved on, and my car's not letting me. I know it loves me so much, and it doesn't want to lose its owner, but I want to enjoy the car, but I want to be done with it. I'm not letting you go, buddy. I just need you to be a Sunday fun car. That's what I need right now. So we'll see how it goes. All right, so I'm reading here. It says, do not use distilled water. Not recommended unless you're mixing it with antifreeze. So I'm going to switch over to filtered drinking water, which is what they're suggesting, and do that. So good thing I caught that. So I just took it for a drive, and normally it would get up to 180 before I even lift the driveway. Possibly, that might be true. At least that's what I remember. And then if I, hit the gas a few times, we'd hit up to 200, and again, sitting at a stop, it would go to 210. The other night when I came home, it was probably 20 degrees cooler than this, and just sitting at idle, it was at 210. So tonight, I drove around just a little bit. I was kind of shocked it didn't go up that fast. And I stood at idle, like I was sitting at a stoplight in front of my house for 3-5 minutes, which would normally pin it up to 210, and it never went past 199. So, and then, when the fan kicked in, which wasn't for a while, normally a fan's kicking in before I'm taking off, it seemed to kind of keep it at bay. And then, of course, when you turn the engine off, that's when it would really overheat and then stuff would spill out. So I'm not hearing any boiling. I'm not hearing anything in the radiator at all. So I think mission accomplished. Of course, it is a cool night, but it's not that cold. It's not as cold as it was before, and I was having issues. So I think we're doing pretty good, and mission accomplished. So I was thinking about it last night, and my car is due to actually change the oil out from the break-in engine oil to regular engine oil. And the break-in engine oil is really, really thick stuff. And so I was wondering if, maybe that's adding 3 degrees of heat or 5 degrees of heat of having this thick oil in the car that, it's working against, because there's more friction with the thicker oil. And so I'm going to switch out the oil today. And the other thing that might actually help is LS engines are known for having burping issues where, some air will get stuck in the back of the engine or something like that and you want to get it out. Now they have a vent system that's built into the engine, and depending on what model of, truck engine or car engine, and I'm assuming the tilt of the engine and how it sits in the car, sometimes there's a vent hole on each side of the engine. And sometimes they're all connected. Sometimes the backs are sealed and the fronts are open, which would mean that possibly the engine is tilted the way it sits in the vehicle, so that there's no need to have the backs open because everything's going to bleed out the front anyways. So in my case, that's how my engine came and that's how I've kept it. But maybe because of the rake of my car, that's actually not a good idea. So when I go to do the oil change today, I'm going to drive the car up on ramps, and that'll be a perfect opportunity for that engine to burp itself, if you will, as a kind of final measure, if you will, to make sure that all the air is out of the engine. So I think I'm going to hit 2 birds with 1 stone today and see if that helps. And, we already got the 10 degrees last night, so let's see if we can get a little bit more out of it and kind of go from there. So it's been a few weeks since I've put the royal purple in and also changed the oil. I'm not sure if I noticed any difference with the oil, but the temperature keeps changing as the weeks go by, since we're coming out of the cold right now. However, what I will say is, even on a hot day or running the car for, a half an hour drive or whatever, we're looking at averaging, if I'm sitting at a street light, which usually it would go 10 degrees higher and then 10 degrees lower when I take off. I think the max I'm hitting is like 201 to 203 max, usually around 199. If I get stuck at a train or something, 203. And then while I'm driving, it's about 192. So we've definitely done a good job of getting this thing, down. Now, if I drive around with my little things here, so there's an air gap here, then we're definitely getting more flow. And it just doesn't seem, I know there's somewhat of a vent there, but it just seems like I need venting back here or something for this thing really to breathe, or maybe on top. But it really would ruin the look of the car from what I originally intended. And so my choices are, if that's really the case, that I do need the venting, because the first 300-400 miles that I put on this car, the front end was open. I didn't have anything going on. And so, or at least the top wasn't on. And so we had plenty of breathing going on. And I never really, had it overheat or do anything like that. So really the only difference between before and after is this is fully enclosed now. And I think that's actually locking this thing up. So, breathing wise. So I'm thinking, I have two options. One is, obviously I'd have to do some more verification tests to verify, and that'd be something to do great in the dead heat of the summer. But let's just assume that that's the problem and I need more venting. Then one is it becomes a show queen for 1 year and I show it as is because that's the way I like it. And then I put a vent in later and use the car a year after I go through, a bunch of shows. Or two, I just don't do long drives with the car. I'm not really sure. I actually want this car to be real reliable, which is why I put an LS in it. And that's why I put fuel injection in it. And so right now it's a little bit, bothering me a little bit. The other thing that is a possibility is I know that Greg actually made like a scoop inside the grill here that comes up to force air into the radiator. And I don't know if he has air conditioning or not. Of course, that's another, layer that's in front of my radiator. But, the bottom kind of seems like it is a scoop anyways. The bottom valance is kind of a scoop forcing the air in there. So I don't know. I almost feel like if I just left 2-inch spacers here while I was driving and this was open an inch, it would breathe out. Of course, if anything went weird, it would hit the windshield, fog me out, and I wouldn't be able to see. But I doubt that would actually come to pass. So those are some of my options. I'm hopefully soon getting this down to the upholstery shop. I do have it on the schedule. And just dealing with all these little nuance issues is, it makes me like skittish trying to drive it like 40 minutes into the city to get something done. So kind of is what it is, but hopefully soon we'll have that done. Then I need to get these windows done and some of the trim. I still need to put in my prop rod. So there's all sorts of little things that I've just been waiting on other people to do, and it's just not happening, and it's been very frustrating. So it's kind of been long drawn out. I think from the time I changed the oil to the second I'm recording this, it's been 6 weeks. and nothing has happened. Well, a lot has happened in 6 weeks, but nothing has happened, with the car moving forward. So, um, it just gives you an idea of like the craziness I'm dealing with and trying to get people to work on stuff. So, in any case, that's the update, and have a great day.